to this evening, boss man?
Um, Finally had a somewhat productive day. I was able to get out of bed early and went and had breakfast with my former pastor. Former pastor, and the little debrief on my trip back east that he was helping me prepare for
Nice.
with some counseling, and we just sat and talked, had a really good time. And um I've known him since '97, I think, 96, 97, somewhere around there. And he
Nice.
just recently retired. But
It'd be cool to catch up with him. When's the last time you saw him?
oh no, he just recently retired.
I know. When's the last time you said former? I didn't know how long
Oh,
ago
I
it
saw
was.
him on Sunday.
Oh,
he
you
he
hadn't been around that long.
the the
Former.
the new pastor is very young, and he asked this pastor to stick around for a year to kind of help mentor him.
Oh yeah, I
So
bet. Yeah, it's nice to
it,
kind of hand that down a little bit.
yeah,
And then you can feel out the congregation a little bit too.
but he
Everybody's a little
was
different.
he has a master's in I guess psychology or whatever. He used to do marriage counseling, and he um, he kind of felt led to start like a little counseling business, and he said he's busier now than he's ever been because
Just for just counseling.
because he drives up um, to North San Diego County, and then he takes a couple days and drives out near Palm Springs, and he stays out there for a couple of days counseling people. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm busier now than I was when I was on staff at the church." So, yeah, but
It's
he's
wild that he would be. It's wild that he'd be so busy. I mean, does he travel to those people, or does he have an office?
well, he goes. We go to Calvary Chapel, uh, and there's a bunch of Calvary chapels all over the world. But he travels to a couple different Calvary chapels and helps take some of the load off of the pastor that's there, because there's a lot of times there's a lot of people that want counseling, and it's kind of difficult for one or two people to do. So he just kind of goes up there and meets them at the church and does counseling. So,
Nice.
yeah,
Not bad. Not bad.
and he's great at counseling, man. He's seen me through some rough times, and it's totally made me a better person. So, yeah,
Sweet. I mean, that'd be cool. I mean, I, I would, I would like to see pastors get into something like that. You know what I mean? Because you don't get to see them do. They don't have a lot of careers after
yeah,
a newer, younger guy comes into the building,
yeah.
or you
I
can just
I'll,
stay there till you retire, I guess.
I tell you something that he told me when I was going through my first divorce back in '03, '04. Um, I was pretty much a total wreck. I didn't want it, and it was just an awful experience for me. And he told me, he goes, what you're going to go through with this divorce is worse than someone losing their spouse, their spouse passing away. And I immediately said, no, 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 don't compare my situation to that. Don't do that. He goes, no, no, let me explain. He goes, when someone passes away, that's it. They're no longer there. You don't see them. He said, if someone wants a divorce and you don't want it and you still desire to be with that person, you still see them,
Yeah.
and but you can no longer touch them or whatever. Because then you start getting over it, and then all of a sudden you might see them with someone else, and those wounds will get reopened again. And I was like, wow, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. Well, What really got me when I was younger, I had a child really young, and luckily me and her mom are still together and doing great. But there was a rocky period after she was born, and we were separated for a period of time, and it took me a long time to get to the realization of other people around are just other people that care about my daughter and Jody. And you know what I mean? Like they care about all those people that are already in my life. It's just more people that care about them. And that was my biggest hurdle to get over. Instead of thinking of people like obstacles,
Yeah.
because that's the biggest thing after like a breakup or something like that is you think of people like obstacles instead of anything. I don't know, a little more coherent.
Yeah. It it was my first one was very, very bad on me. My second one, I should have died because of what I was doing to
Oh,
mask the symptoms.
I was gonna say because you're self-medicating, I assume.
Yeah, well, I mean, how many shots are in a Long Island? And from like 5 or 6 till about midnight, I was drinking 7 or 8 of those. You know, um, what is there, like 5 shots in a Long Island, and then you know, it's like a lot of
At the
shots.
bar, at the
Yeah,
bar.
yeah,
Yeah, that's where you fucked up. And that's why I always say there's no such thing as like an alcoholic at the bar as much these days because it's so much more expensive to go to the bar and drink.
yeah,
It's not the same as like an alcoholic's gonna sit at home and drink by themselves
yeah.
and always have fucking booze on hand.
But see, I needed, even though I wasn't super
Like, don't get me
social.
wrong, you could have got super sick and you could have got
Yeah,
liver poisoning or some shit.
yeah. When I went into the bar, I like to sit on the very short side of the bar up against the wall, with my back to the wall so I could see people coming in because I didn't like people walking up behind me.
Yeah,
And I didn't really socialize a whole lot with people there. I mean, I would say hi, we'd talk a little bit, but um, I didn't try to be in the big crowd.
yeah.
But it just felt good to have someone around. Just going home to an empty house every day was just a brutal reminder of what a failure I had been, you know. So it was like, well, I get home at midnight or 1 in the morning, and I'm so drunk I don't even really pay attention that no one's there. I just go pass out. So yeah, it was pretty bad.
I can relate to the not talking to anybody thing. I'm like strangely socially awkward. I don't like large crowds. I'd rather be around a group of like 8 or less people
Yeah,
all the time. Like I don't ever want to be in a large group. And I don't know what it is. Like even online, it's really weird. Like if a bunch of people come into my chat, I kind of get weird. I start like watching the chat too much and worrying about shit that I shouldn't worry about. Yeah, it's weird, and I do it in all situations, or I'll just avoid the situation. Like if I feel like a lot of people are around, I'll just dip out.
yeah, yeah. I'm really a introvert that has found ways to mask it at times. But if we would go to like a work party, I would be off sitting by myself,
Yeah,
and and people would come, oh, what's wrong? What's wrong? Nothing. Everything's fine. You know?
I'm. Yeah, I'm like a weird mixture of like I'm great socially with like I said like six to 8 people, but once the groups get bigger than that, yeah, that's why I say I probably mask it well, like you were saying,
Yeah.
but it just depends on how many people I'm talking to. Like I'm really good at talking to strangers or anything else like that, but when it comes to yeah, large groups of people, especially ones that know you,
Yeah.
That's even weirder. Like I don't like family gatherings at all. I hate family. Like I have a weird thing with family gatherings.
Yeah.
It's because my families are so different. Like my mom's side to my dad's side.
Yeah.
Did you have that growing up, or were your mom and dad's families pretty similar?
My mom's family was pretty much non-existent. Um,
Oh, okay.
her dad passed when she was 1. Her mom committed suicide when she was in grade school.
No, like cousins or aunts or uncles or anything on that side.
Um,
That's what I mean. It's like the
my,
whole
my
family.
mom,
Because that's the kind
my
of
mom,
gatherings I'm thinking of.
my mom had a half brother who had moved up to like near Columbus, Ohio, um, and that's who my mom moved. She had to leave this little small town in West Virginia and go live with her brother in Ohio after her mom committed suicide. But then my mom moved back to West Virginia to marry my dad, and we would see them periodically. And her half brother was 20 years older than her, so his kids were basically her age. So they were my cousins, but they were so much older than me. It wasn't like I could play with them or anything. And then on my dad's side, I'm the only child. So then my cousin had, that lived out here before me, she's the only child. And then my dad's youngest brother had a son when I was 10, and then probably 4 to 6 years later had their daughter. So I was a little bit older to be playing with them. So, um, and then my dad's old is my dad's younger brother, but the oldest of the younger brothers. Um, they didn't have much to do with me because they didn't like my mom. So they took it out on me, and so I wasn't really close to his family either. Um, but basically, my neighbors raised me, and I'm very, very close with them to this day.
So, so then, I mean, if they raised you, then they just felt like family. Then,
Oh,
yeah,
they are. Yeah, they are.
if you didn't have other, I get that.
Yeah. I've always said, again, I was the only child, but I always told myself if I were to ever become an uncle, that because I called my neighbor, I called him Uncle Phil. Um, I said if I ever became an uncle, I would be nothing like my dad's brother, who had nothing to do with me, basically, and exactly like my Uncle Phil, who, I mean, he wouldn't even. They would go to the stock car races or to a concert or camping, and he wouldn't think of not asking me to go with him. It never crossed his mind. He always asked me if I wanted to go. So they're a huge influence in my life.
Yeah,
So
and if anything, like even having non-existent relatives, at least it gives you a example of how you don't want to act. Like, you know what I mean? Even if it's a bad example, at least you can still learn and take something from it.
yeah.
And at least you had other people around that could set a good example.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, because I always saw that with like people that had like a dad that was too much. I say too much just because I don't want to get into crazy details, but everybody will say they had a dad that was too much, and it was just like, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I mean, I luckily didn't have that experience, but I know family members that had that, and you can almost see their uh their fathers like bleeding through into their life, like how similar they are to them, and it's weird how you can't shake off some of the traits of your family members. It's really weird. It's creepy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like seeing it in like the random stories where siblings meet each other after like years. I used to see it on Unsolved Mysteries all
Oh
the time.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and they happen to be very similar and live
Oh
very
yeah.
similar
Yeah.
lives. Or
Especially if they were twins.
oh yeah, the twin ones are always creepy.
Yeah.
That weird intuition.
Yeah.
But so what I wanted to talk about tonight was what happened with Illinois,
Oh boy.
and you saw what happened, right? That they took
Yeah.
the ballot.
Yeah.
Um, I got in a debate with somebody about this earlier today, and he was saying that like it was a good thing, and that like people are wise up, and I'm thinking it's going to lead to a lawsuit against the government, and I don't think it's going to. I can't find a way that it's justified, especially in the state of Illinois. Like it's weird hearing somebody tell me that, oh, by the way, a county judge, not in your county, decided that nobody in your state can vote for this person in a federal election.
Yeah.
Like that whole sentence just sounds so weird to me.
Yeah.
Like, why? I mean, I don't know. It doesn't
Oh,
make.
and the thing is that gets me. Um, Everyone's talking about how they're like if Trump gets in, he'll end democracy. Well,
Yeah.
what's this judge doing now? He's like ending democracy by taking someone off the ballot.
I mean, that's because, well, I mean, and they did it in Colorado too, and I kind of
Yeah, I've
laughed
done
at
it
it
a lot
when
of.
they did it, and I was just like, well, and they were doing it on the base. I don't know if I've looked into the Illinois one enough yet, but I know what the basis around the Colorado one. It was based on the insurrection, and he was never charged with insurrection,
No.
like, and he was never fully charged with impeachment. He never was removed from office.
No.
Um,
Well, he was impeached. He wasn't convicted. So
Yeah, which
yeah,
is how most of our impeachments work. Like
yeah,
most of the time, we never reach that final stage,
yeah,
which are the grounds to take somebody off of a ballot. Like they would actually have to be removed from office.
yeah,
Like that's the standard. So some people are removing him for crimes he didn't get charged with, and other people are removing him for I don't know, maybe his impeachment. But
yeah,
it's a really weird stance to make for the simple fact that they know Joe Biden's going to get impeached. They already know what's going to happen. And there's been so many presidents that have been impeached. Could you imagine if that was the grounds in the next part of it was to make sure that they couldn't run for president again?
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a groundbreaking statement to make.
Yeah.
And
I,
it's such a weird precedent.
I,
I just think it's going to lead to a lawsuit, though, from Donald Trump to the U.S. government, and then the taxpayers are going to end up paying the bill on these dumb judges.
yeah, yeah. I heard early on that there were FBI agents, undercover FBI agents at that insurrection, and also people from groups, possibly like Antifa, who dressed up as supporters.
Antifa's not a group; it's an ideology.
Yeah, whatever. Um, but they dressed up like Trump supporters and
Oh yeah.
got the
Well,
people riled up.
and I heard that rumor, and then until like more footage actually got released, when people started figuring out what the fuck was going on, it was the same thing when I found out about the riots going on in Chicago, and when we looked up what was going on, all of a sudden they're like dropping these fucking pallets of bricks on the corner of like downtown Chicago. I'm like, you guys aren't bricking a building right now, and you wouldn't just leave exposed bricks out overnight. Like they were they were
Yeah,
staging really weird shit. And that's why all these people are moving out of Chicago. They realize some of this shit is looking really staged.
yeah,
And uh the insurrection is a really prime example of it. And the fact that they use that word, that word's been labeled with that event now. And what it was is at the most you could call it a failed coup. I would
yeah,
accept that. That would have been a great example for it. But to call it like modern day fucking Pearl Harbor or some shit. Like I've heard some really wild claims about what it was, and I'm
yeah.
like, it definitely wasn't that.
Nah, yeah,